In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, God is one. Amen. Well, it'd be nice to be able to describe adequately what I can see through the window, but the answer is not a great deal. You can see probably for about 20 meters reasonably clearly, because it is a day that is of thick fog, wind, rain, cold, fog. Quite a different sort of day. If you arrived and the weather's like this and say, well, actually, usually there's a beautiful view over there. There's, I know I said before, but Tony from Ireland came all the way here as well. The day that he arrived was a nice day. So I think for the rest of the time he stayed here, he had the view, or rather the lack of view, that I currently have, which is actually it's quite exciting. There's a beautiful, huge 300-year-old sycamore tree just over there. You need to, if I took a picture of it, you wouldn't be able to see anything at the moment. There's a beautiful tree. I can just see the outline. If I really mean just see, it's the faintest shadow in the mist over there. It's really absolutely beautiful. I like it in the autumn when it's like this, because all the spiders' webs get those little jewel-like drops of water all over them, and they look so wonderful. You look at this thing and think, my goodness, isn't that brilliant, the way that thing is able to, with hardly any brain at all, build such a remarkable structure. There is actually a spider in the window just ahead of me here, and that's an orb-building spider. Actually, I just noticed it's moved. It's moved from this window to that one. It's only very tiny at the moment. We'll get nice, big and fleshy by the autumn. And I think this one is a female, looking at its shape. So they get really big. I remember watching one of them, being really startled how beautiful it was, and watching it building its web so wonderfully. And a bird came out of nowhere and ate it. Sorry, spider, drew attention to you. See, Anthony, what happened? You're not the first on the list today. Maria Helena, good morning, God bless you. Good morning, Anthony, Vicky, and Katrina. Good morning, Katrina. Pouring down in West Yorkshire, yes, I think it's going to be. Alan, you're both stress heads. It'll all turn out fine. You may feel from time to time like the guy who, in the Magnificent Seven, who threw himself into a cactus. And 6 weeks later, when they pulled out all the thorns, they said, why did you do it? And so it seemed like a good idea at the time. Alan and Claire are moving to Lincolnshire. They've chosen a house. It looks to me like a great house, a great place, and it's not far away from where I live in Lincoln as well. So that's a double benefit for me, because I can nip around there frequently and eat their cheese. Darcy, good morning. Yeah, it's lovely. Actually, it's beautiful out here. Maria, good morning. Phoebe, Alan, it's shining there in Oxfordshire. Well, that's nice. My mother told me how nice it was there yesterday. She lives near to Alan. Nicoletta, oh yeah, of course, the beautiful parking. Elias, good morning. Your prayers, Elias. Yes, thank you, your prayers. Petrula, good morning. And Mary, middle of the night, so we already got to be in bed. And Andrew, and Margaret, and Sissy, and Melengeth. Grey, cold, no rain. We have a full house. Father Alexander, good morning. Happy St. Humphrey's Day. Even St. Humphrey, clothed thickly in a great covering of his own hair, would feel chilly today. The story about St. Humphrey is really very moving. You should find it somewhere and read it. Good morning, Judy and Katrina. Orthodox understanding the blessing of gifts versus transubstantiation. I will do, but in all good time, because we're working through Mark's Gospel, And at some point, Katrina, we will get to the point where we're talking about the divine liturgy. But actually, all the way through the whole of Mark's gospel, you have to be understanding that really he's talking about the divine liturgy. Hello, Sally, from Cornwall. Well, I hope it's nice from there. Today, we're going to be looking at, I better crack on, because there's quite a lot to say, probably half a whole verse. Woohoo! I'm saying chapter 3, verses 5 and 6, but I guess we might just get to the beginning of verse 5. Good morning, Andrew. Pray for me also. And Natalia, God bless you. So here we go. Verse the 5th. You remember, the Pharisees are silent. They're not going to say whether or not they think the Lord ought to heal the man with a withered right hand, which all the fathers tend to agree means that he's not able to do any good works. And when he, that's Jesus, and when he had looked around at them with anger, that's what I'm going to be talking about, being grieved by the hardness of their hearts, he said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." And he stretched it out. His hand was restored as whole as the other. Then the Pharisees went out and immediately, a nice little Markham bit, plotted with the Herodians against him, how they might destroy him. No, interesting and horrific. The Pharisees are silent. They say nothing. They're not going to either say something positive or negative, and by saying nothing, they tacitly allow the man to remain unhealed. They'd rather that happened. And because it's his right hand, it means they're not willing to help him to do good, to be as God is. Now, Christ is God, and therefore it's not possible for him to leave the Sabbath. In fact, the Sabbath hasn't happened. When life is not perfect, the Sabbath hasn't happened. So you can always carry on and do good during the Sabbath until everything is perfect, and then you can rest. You notice, as a little aside, in the Old Testament in Genesis, that you go through all the days of creation. Day 1, God looks, it's good. Day 2, God looks, it's good. Day 3, God looks, it's good. Day 4, God looks, it's good. Day 5, God looks, it's good. Day 6, God looks, it is very good. Humanity has also been created and everything is now perfect. And now that everything is very good, God can rest. But here, although it's the Sabbath, God looks around the synagogue and it's not very good. Therefore, there's no way that he can rest. He has to act and then he can rest. So he looks round. He's looking round at these people who are standing. You've got Jesus, then you've got the man with the withered hand, then you've got the Pharisees. The man with the withered hand has been told, come and stand in the middle. He looks around them with anger, being grieved at their hardness of heart. He looks around. God sees them for what they really are. And of course, he sees me and sees you for what we really are as well. Those people want to appear to be super religious. They know much more than God does about how to be religious. They're probably right there. God is not religious at all. And just a little aside here, I always say you have to remember that God is wild. God is not tamed. God is not kept in a cage. God cannot fit into our heads. God is entirely wild. He's mysterious and wild, trackless, like some floating thing through the forest. From that point of view, he's terrifying and good. And so the Pharisees trying to tame their idea of God and say, now we've got you. Now we have you. I'll come on to that in a second, Malenga. Saying, well, how can we ever rest? Come on to that. Now we've got you, God. We know exactly how. We do that, you do this, and that's it. And that is not the way that God really is. they have hardness of heart. They don't have a heart of flesh. And you can look back into the Old Testament and you read about God taking out their heart of stone and replacing it with a heart of flesh. And, God, when he was saying this to the prophet, he knew what he was saying. He knew he was going to be standing in this synagogue in Capernaum and looking at people with hard hearts. And he knew they needed hearts of flesh. And that's why he's angered. You notice what he says. He's looking around with anger, being grieved at the hardness of their hearts. Not angry with them. He's angry because of their hardness of heart. This is an action of Satan that he's looking at. He's looking at these Pharisees sad, dejected, because they actually don't understand him at all. Now, this then brings us onto the whole business about being angry. People misunderstand anger. Never understand at all. Anger is not always sinful. It is sometimes. It can be, for example, when it leads you to more sin. It can lead to all sorts of other things. Like anger often leads to pride. Anger can lead to distorting God. Anger can tear other people down. Anger can be destructive. Okay, so when anger is like that, then anger is sinful. So when it leads to pride, distorts God, tears others down, and is destructive, anything like that, then you'll see that this is what makes anger a sin. But you notice here the Lord, who is sinless, is angry. He also is angry, and we can be angry too. But when we're angry, we have to be angry on behalf of the weak, the vulnerable, the exploited, and we have to be angry against the exploiters, oppressors, and hypocrisy. That is fine. That is fine. Yes, Declan, you're quoting from Ephesians chapter 4, one of my favorite all-time favorite chapters in the Bible. So you can be angry against exploiters, oppressors, and hypocrisy. That is fine. Now, let's unpack that slightly. Those people who are weak and vulnerable, all those things, any exploitation of humans or animals, the creation, or the dehumanizing of people with disabilities, or the unborn, or the poor, prisoners, homeless, orphans, widows, drug abusers, and so on. All the people we look down on, in inverted commas, those people are often exploited. So, and being angry about those people who are exploiting them is fine. And that sort of anger needs really to be cold anger. Hot anger needs to be cooled. So you might be angry about the sexual exploitation of somebody or people or women. And you then say to yourself, right, what can be done about this? What can I do? And also, really importantly, is this the thing that I am angry about? I am going to be working on. There's a young friend of mine. I really like him. I used to teach this lad, and he's sort of got bandwagon anger. He's delightful, a lovely person. I must actually at some point point this out to him. But every bandwagon that goes past, he jumps on and he shouts his head off for a few minutes. Then another one passes the other way and he jumps onto that one. and shouts like mad about that one as well. Instead, rather, not as well, but instead. And that sort of bandwagon anger is actually awful sort of anger, and all it does in the end is that people stop listening to you. But the sort of anger that is good is where you decide on what you can do, and it might be very local, might be very, very local, might be to do with your own backyard, your own garden, or your own self. I am angry with my own particular sin, and I'm going to do something about it. And once you start doing something about it, even though it might be that anger is contained within your own sin, within your own skin, then you're making the world a better place. Okay? You are doing something about you. And when you're doing something about you, as St. Seraphim Sarovsky, whose icon I have just up there, says, when your soul is saved, then you save 1,000 souls around you. A bit of a paraphrase. But that is also a beginning. Very important. So you begin there. You begin with yourself. Then at that point, you can look out and say, okay, what am I going to get? What am I going to give myself to? And there are lots of things to give yourself to. Malenga said here earlier on, the world is full of all sorts of injustice and dreadful things that we need to look at. Quite right, it is. But don't look at all of them. The Lord will give you, he will plant in your heart something that you need to look at, that you need to study, that you need to do something about. And at that point, you work hard to do that. Now, there's an awful lot of what's nowadays called virtue signaling, which means, I can say, yes, I'm against slavery. Great. What are you going to do about it? No, nothing at all. I'm going to have another sip of my coffee. Delicious Colombian coffee, picked by slaves. Actually, it's fair trade tea. But that is the sort of thing that can so easily happen. So you say to other people, I'm a really nice person. Sometimes it doesn't cost me anything at all. And that won't do. That's what the chattering classes do. Now, the other thing to remember is this, that the people that you might be being angry with, the Lord is angry about. He was angry about the Pharisees. I'm not angry with them. And if you remember right at the very end on the cross, when they got their way and when they did finally destroy him, he says, what does he say? Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. So you don't get angry with those people. You get angry about them. Because the person you're angry about also has a soul, and that soul needs to be saved. And if you're angry at that person, okay, you're angry with them, you're dehumanizing them too. So that is not the right thing to be doing. Get angry in such a way that you're hoping to bring them to God. And then, when everything is very good, you can rest. But remember, the man in the synagogue had a withered hand. Probably you don't. This is my right hand. This is the hand with which I need to do good. And what we must do, and what we learn from this, is that we must also do good. And we mustn't use any excuses to avoid doing good. You know, the Pharisees were absolutely correct in what they said, except that they were completely wrong. And I think we can leave it there. Right, let's see who's here. Good morning, Andrew. Yes, you're right. Everybody's saying good morning to each other. That's very lovely. Yes, bandwagons, Andrew. Anger and milk, blah, blah, blah. Result of pride or just loss of self-control. Yes, we need to be angry in a particular manner. Yes, that's acquire a peaceful spirit, which means the same thing. Be saved, because you can only be peaceful when the Lord is filling you. Write and join a march. Well, there might be times when writing and marching are the right thing to do. Pretty frequently, people march and they think they've done their bit. But actually, if you write a letter to your member of parliament in this country, that's probably worth several miles of marching. They get very few letters, in fact. So your letter will mean a huge amount to them. So long as you keep it, you're not. I had another friend who lived not far away from here, who wrote to his member of parliament probably 2 or 3 times a week. Certainly every time I went to visit him, he was busy typing away on his old typewriter. And almost certainly the MP said, "Oh, not another letter from so-and-so." God bless him. He was a wonderful man, actually. I really, really admired him. Anger is determination. Yes, and the will to resist evil within ourselves and around us, Natalia. Yes, I'm going along with you there. The exploiter is also exploited. Yes, we exploit ourselves. Yes, Katrina, we can be correct and completely wrong. You know, as I was saying yesterday, we have there's a the sort of orthodox fascist who knows exactly how everything ought to be done. And they can be absolutely correct in exactly what they tell you, but absolutely wrong because they have missed the point. Okay? Real-time church. The answer is no. We don't know. Okay? There are some things, but actually the guidelines you've been given are so tricky that I'm not sure that we'll be able to fulfill them. We could do, but it involves a great deal of work. And this just means the church will be open for people to come in, light a candle, and go back out again within 5 minutes. And I'm not sure that that is going to be worthwhile, because you can always do that in your own home. And in fact, it's a very good thing to get used to that, doing that in your own home. What is more pertinent to me is when am I going to be able to enable people to receive communion again in a way that is not going to scandalize other people and so on. Okay, have a good day. Now, Monday. Monday I'm going to be in Lincoln. And on Monday I'm going to try and live stream, but it's going to be with the old thingamajig. What's it called? Oh no, Monday I'll do a pre-recorded one for Monday. Tuesday and Wednesday I will try and live stream, but with old technology. So we'll see how we get on. Might be very bouncy, in which case what I will do is that I will, if it is bouncy, I will pre-record one, put one up that way. Then Thursday I'm coming back here. Inshallah, I will get here in time to live stream. If I don't, then I might live stream later on in the day. So it could be 11 o'clock or even later by the time I get back, but I'll see what I can do. But this is, I'm going to start going back to Lincoln each week for the same amount of time I did before, but during the week, so that I am ready and waiting to make changes when we can do that and open up the church and give people communion when the time comes, as soon as we can possibly do it. There are lots of people that need to talk to me one-to-one, face-to-face. I can do that 2 meters away from them in the church garden or going for a walk in the park, and we will do that, or in the garden or something like that. And so slowly we're going to get back to see what we can do in a normal way. Okay? So next week could be a bit jumbled. Week after that, we shall know what to do, and we'll try and do it in a way that is more feasible. Okay, so pray for me. God bless you, Margaret. All those from the United States and Australia and Canada and various other places, they can all go to bed. Night. Everybody else, have a lovely day. Albertus, have a great day. God bless you.